There's nothing subtle about this flower. I started to celebrate immediately when I saw my lupins come in bloom in the beginning of summer. My variety that I've planted in my garden comes in a bright pink that definitely attracts your eye. They are very fast growing. I planted roots of the lupin early in spring, and 2 months later I already had the plant showing off its leaves. So yes, if you plant the roots in spring, you can definitely get flowers in the same year. Planting roots is a cheaper option to go, so I recommend that you go that way, or you can start from seed. But if you do start from seed, you will only get your plants later on. So if you're planting from seed, you would rather start planting in autumn so that you can have your flowers coming up in the next summer. In general, lupins flower from early spring right through till summer. It's possible to get a second flush of flowers if you deadhead the spent flower, like I will show you in a moment. Please be careful. This plant is poisonous to both humans and animals, so it definitely means that they are not edible. Do not at any point try to eat any part of the plant. If you by accident touch the lupin flower with your bare hand, please make sure that you do wash your hands and you do not touch any food that you might bring to your face. And do not touch your face as well until you have washed your hands. So when you do handle it, make sure that you do wear some gloves. I will be wearing these gloves which have rubber in the inside and they have a softer material on the outside. I'm wearing these because then afterwards I can wash them easier and any poison will not seep into my hands when I'm wearing these. You know what's interesting? Lupins are actually capable of fixing nitrogen in your soil. So if you have a batch of soil that has nitrogen deficiency, it's actually good to plant lupins in order to make sure that you fix the nitrogen in your soil, and the next batch of plants that you plant in that area will definitely get a good amount of nitrogen that is available in the soil. Lupins can be planted directly in the ground, as I have done over here, or you can plant them in containers. Lupins make for wonderful garden flowers and also very good for borders. In my garden, I have tried to place them in different places just to check out where they will grow best. And in some areas, I noticed that they were not doing well, especially when it is mostly shady with no sunlight hitting the lupin. So I would suggest that you would rather have it with sun that would hit it for at least about 5 to 6 hours. And when they do get too much sunlight, they also don't like that area, because then they also struggle a bit in order to retain the moisture in their roots and their leaves. In my garden, the plants that actually ended up surviving were in a place where they were getting about 6 hours of sunlight, but not too much direct sun the whole day. Lupins actually prefer cool summers. They don't like it when the weather is hot and humid. So I'm quite lucky in Europe. During the summer, it rains quite a lot and the summers do not get as hot. Unless you plant your lupins directly in the sun, the summers actually remain quite cool because the temperatures are regulated by the rain that keeps falling, especially in my zone in the Netherlands. I'm in zone 8B. Because lupins prefer a cool summer, it's actually important to place a layer of mulch around the roots. This will make sure that they do not lose a lot of water through evaporation and the roots do remain cool when it is actually much hotter than you might have expected in your area. Caring for the lupin is actually quite easy. I didn't have to do much. All I needed to do was to plant the roots and patiently wait to make sure that I get the leaves and then the flowers later on. What is important though is that you know that aphids, slugs and snails really love this plant. In order to protect it, you need to protect it while it's still young. It's either you could place a collar around the base of the plant so that the slugs do not get to it. In my garden, I do have a lot of mulch protecting the plants when they are still small, so the snails do not like rolling over the mulch. If your plant is drooping or bent over like this one over here, this may be a result of aphids overwhelming the plant. Commonly, they cover the stem of the plant, suck the sap from it, and cause the plant to lose its rigidity. Another reason for a drooping lupin may be the soil condition that you have planted them in. Lupins really don't like waterlogged soil that leads to them having wet roots. They need a well-draining soil. One other reason could be a change in season. Even though lupins are perennial, they die off during the winter, so it's natural to see them looking a little sad at the end of the season. So I'm very happy that I protected my plants, and eventually now I do have these beautiful blooms in my garden. Now that the flowers have been spent, it's important to deadhead the plant so that it doesn't form seeds. This will encourage the lupin to produce more flowers during the summer season. The lupin seeds are actually quite readily and easily available from the garden stores, so there's no need for me to keep the lupin head in order to produce seed. I'm in the early days of July. It's the beginning of summer in the Netherlands, and depending on how fast the lupins grow, you could come back in autumn and actually deadhead the lupins once again, or cut them in order to encourage the roots to grow during the winter and have a much more vigorously growing lupin in the next year. I'm about to start deadheading this particular lupin. So, like I said before, it's important to wear your gloves in order to protect yourself, because lupins are poisonous to both humans and animals. Whenever you are pruning or deadheading your plants, make sure that you use clean shears or secateurs in order to make a clean cut and not harm the plant or do any damage to it. These plants are already starting to be spent. You can notice that because the seed head, which looks like this, is starting to form right here at the bottom. But there is still some bloom on it. So at this point you can decide to cut it off and enjoy it further in a vase inside your house, or you can leave it and enjoy it outside. For me, I will leave it on the plant because I need more color in my backyard, and I will cut off this one and try to avoid cutting this beautiful one that is forming, the baby that's right next to it. So coming here, I'll make my cut right over here. And because these are actually poisonous, I have brought a separate recyclable plastic bag to put them in.